Okay, any questions on that report from Lee Ortliff? Hearing none, move on to item 17, approve, deny, directing Shannon Sweeney in regard to debt payoff.
We have been talking about paying off some of our street improvement bonds, and the recommendation of Shannon Sweeney was to start with the 2009 improvement bond. The outstanding balance is $350,000. Something to keep in mind as we pay off these bonds, for the $350,000 owed on the 2009 one, $264,174 is in the debt service fund. That's easy enough to pay off. We can use money that we might have in our money market account, cash in some of our CDs that aren't earning any interest, and pay that off. $42,913 of that has to come out of the enterprise, the water enterprise fund. Also, okay, we have money in the water enterprise fund. $42,913 of it has to come out of that sewer fund, which is already in the hole.
Can't we just put some of the money from the other one into there?
We cannot. Those are enterprise funds. But it's already in the red, and the accountants, I had questioned Lisa, I said, do we get in trouble with the state auditors for having that one in the hole? And when the auditors look at it, they look at the combined AGI and sewer, so when you combine the two, we're still sitting okay. So we could we could pay off this 2009 one. And if you'd like to do that, we have to give 30 days notice to the bondholders that we will be paying this off. And Shannon Sweeney would prepare that notice and a resolution for council to approve to have us move forward with that. We have the money to pay this off. There's just keep in mind with that sewer fund.
So we paid all of it but the sewer portion? Is that an option?
I mean, even if we paid with the sewer and it's in the red,
I would rather pay that one.
huh?
I think I would rather pay that whole 2009
Yeah.
off for accounting purposes.
Even if it's in the red, it's still building back up.
Yeah,
So,
and it might
we
build
still
up
have that
faster.
pot of money, right? So I mean, it's not like it's
Yeah, it just
spending out of there, it's just.
seems overly complicated the way that
Yeah.
they've got it worked out.
like-
It is, but
You're basically taking two levels and going like this with both of them, so it's.
Yeah.
yep. And we wouldn't be
But
paying.
it's not costing us any money to be in the hole, the sewer, where it's costing us money to hold onto that bond.
Yeah,
Right.
well, especially the last year.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
I mean, I'll move to make, approve the directing Shannon,
Shannon Sweeney.
yeah, Sweeney to, prepare the necessary documents to pay off the 2009 improvement bond, $350,000.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Batchor, second by Councilmember Morgan, to approve directing Shannon Sweeney to prepare necessary documents to pay off the 2009 improvement bond outstanding balance of $350,000. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
And will he be working on a list for some of the other ones too?
I have a
Prioritizing?
list of the next coming up ones. The next, he had mentioned the 2015 improvement bond, we owe 1.525 million on that. And that could be the next one on the list.
Item 18, discussion on personnel committee recommendation of 0% COLA increase for staff and council in 2021.
We had a personnel committee meeting last week. I need to know if council would like to do a COLA increase for both staff and council because it affects my budgeting. I have to include that COLA increase if you'd like to do so. The recommendation of the personnel committee, which is Matt and Joe, was 0%. So that would be no COLA increase. No COLA increase for council too. Normally if you're gonna have a COLA increase, you implement it the year after an election.
Say that again?
Typically, when there's an increase, it's not election, not during.
It's not an election year, right? Okay.
It's the next year.
The
We
year
have an
following
election.
the election,
You can't vote
yeah.
on your own raise, right?
Right.
Yeah, don't vote on your own raise.
Yeah.
But the recommendation coming from the personnel committee, those two over there, was 0%, so you would not get a raise.
And we had
Absolutely
heavily
no raise.
debated on it. I mean, there was a
We
lot of
talked for a
discussion.
while.
There's a lot of discussion,
Yeah.
basically, Nicola's just minimal, I mean, it's not even,
If you were
It's
looking
0.4.
at the
0.4.
consumer price index, it would be 0.4, correct?
I agree with you. Okay, so my question is, we're talking about COLA right now, but what about steps? Are they continuing with steps?
So the plan was to leave the steps as is.
What do you mean, so they'll continue on the next step, right?
Which was a
Okay.
pretty large bump, but
no, I know.
it had essentially, the thought was you know, we wanna maintain our staff and I think they're gonna feel great if they're knowing that, hey, I'm gonna get moved to the next step even during a pandemic and everything that's going on in the world. So I think it helps keep them within the city and feel more, feel secured and loved and
Yep.
appreciated and so.
Yep.
Thank you.
I agree with the 0% COLA. I just wanted to confirm that they're still
Okay.
getting their step.
Do you
Yeah.
need a motion on
Is that
this?
consensus agreement?
We're gonna pass this by a resolution later,
Okay,
so I'll take
sure.
consensus for right now.
Consensus agreement, everyone?
So that I can budget, thank you.
Sounds like that's what it is. Item 19, discussion, direction on changing city policy regarding the annual medical center revenue guidelines.
We've talked about this in the past, like putting more money towards the ambulance, so I wanted to get feedback from you. I put it in your packet, and there's nothing particular if you look at page 4 of these guidelines. I don't see in here that it specifically said we had to use things for guidelines. So on page 3, it says the primary considerations for designating the annual medical center lease revenue, and we do that when we budget, we'll designate where it goes, but are not limited to. So it doesn't say exactly that
No.
what's on page 4 is where it has to go into. And you've been putting money, the city's been putting money into sidewalks, but it doesn't specifically say that, it wasn't specifically
No, it
pointed
just says
out.
sufficient opportunities for activities such as walking, biking, so sidewalks would be
Part of that.
part of that, without saying it.
One of the other things I had thought of in the past, under, it says ambulance capital expenditures.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be just capital expenditures? It says but, but are not limited to.
No, right.
So do
So
we
good.
have to limit it to
So
ambulance capital expenditures? Do we
looks-
need to take that, do we need to change this if we'd ever wanna use it for something in the ambulance that's not a capital expenditure?
Seems like there's a lot of latitude here.
It
to-
does, when I
yeah,
read on page
just-
3, I'm like, but are not limited to.
Right.
It just
that-
says, that's
that-
where we'd prefer you to
yeah.
put the money first,
Mm-hmm,
so maybe we don't
Right.
even need to change it at all.
I don't
I
think so.
don't think so. My take on it is that as long as those funds are going to healthy living initiatives, period.
Yeah,
So if that means staffing our ambulance, if that means putting in
That's a healthy-
sidewalks, if that means putting money towards the library, if that means, mental,
I mean-
whatever. I mean, whatever would be a healthy living initiative.
they just picked
Mental
out some
health,
things at the
I mean,
time. Mhm.
Recreation,
Even pay for counselors,
The real only
Honestly-
stipulation they have is that the fund cannot be used for grant projects, operational costs, or for donations to other organizations.
That's it, cannot be used for
Those are-
operational
operational
costs,
costs, there's your,
which is ambulance would be operational costs.
yeah. So it can be used for capital expenditures though.
So this is one where I was wanting to know more about the breakdown of the agreement with the hospital. We do have some debt on the hospital. It sounds like they're making that payment. But let's say something crazy happens and they don't exist anymore. In this meantime, we've been taking the money that they've been paying us. This is my assumption. I don't have the data until we can
use
can
it-
find out what,
mhm.
I'm assuming this is basically like their rent payment
We use it to
or,
pay the taxes. The taxes are like 73,000, and some of it goes towards that, and then the rest of it, I believe, is going into this.
yeah.
Healthy
So
living
let's say
initiative.
things were terrible, they shut down, we got 1.8 in debt, we still have to pay that and not get any money coming in, so, even though, I mean, right now things are going well and they're making the payment. Worst case scenario, it didn't happen. I just like to understand more what the dynamics are of the agreement that's already in place before trying to figure out how to deal with the money that we are getting.
Maybe next time when Attorney Arneson is back at our council meeting, he could go over it
Yeah.
and get that lease agreement. I have a copy of the lease agreement.
I was gonna say,
I have
Yeah.
that.
okay, anyone else? Anything else on the?
So basically that funding, that's that 25,000 that is designated for sidewalks is basically what, so that could, some of that money could have been used for that new Zoll Hart thing if you're looking at ambulance capital expenditures, right?
Could be. Well, that was the plan actually, was to use medical center funds to pay for that.
Right.
Or, I mean, there's gonna be a new ambulance coming up, even though it's not on our comp plan, our CIP plan.
It is,
Yeah, there's a line item.
Oh, ambulance one, but not ambulance two.
not ambulance 2 yet, no.
I think it's,
That one was just.
They're staggered.
okay. So, but I mean, you know, there you go, you got your money for your ambulance, boom, right there. You could put the sidewalks, well, minus 10 grand, but, you know, you could, offsetting the cost of that ambulance, since you can't use money for operating expenses, you're taking this all the way out of that budget then. You know what I mean? So you are lowering your operating costs, you don't have this tied in any, so it's kind of a, and it's a big ticket item always is.
Okay, any other comments about that? Move on to item 20, discussion direction from Chief Andrew Konechny regarding the city's drone ordinance. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, how are you guys?
Good.
Good. Basically, the reason I'm here is now we have a drone, I guess, program with the police department. We have a city ordinance that requires permits. And there is a section of the ordinance that has exemptions. And I was just wondering if we could somehow add police operations to the exemptions so we don't have to pull permits if we want to do training or flying or anything else.
Yeah, when I read that, I was thinking, you know, like if you were searching for a lost child or, you know, some sort of an investigation that you wanted to use it for, you want to use it like right now. I don't know why we would want to hinder that.
Well, that is in there, I think it's more of a training,
That is in there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're already exempt for that. You're asking for me for training for your drone, right?
Well, I was looking at at our policy, the working policy that we have right now. Approved uses, let's see, it talks about the exceptions may apply when exigent circumstances exist to protect life, destruction of evidence, you know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, if we have a crime scene and, you know, depending on what kind of crime scene it is, a search warrant usually goes along with a crime scene if you're gonna do that. But let's say it's an accident scene and it's a fairly big one and we wanna get like an aerial picture of the intersection from above, we could launch a drone. It'd be police use, but under current, from what I understand, current ordinance would require we have a permit, so. Amy, do you have a copy of that PDF of that wording that I had put in there?
It's in front of everybody's
Oh,
seats
okay.
and probably in front of you too.
Yeah, I did, so I don't know if you guys wanted to add something of like, exceptions don't apply to the police department who is conducting drone training or any other duties, you know, relevant to their work or something like
So
that.
you'd like to change the ordinance.
Or just add us as an exception.
We'd have to,
At all times? I mean, like, what we'd be agreeing to is you can utilize the drone anytime without, I don't know, explanation?
No, because now we have a police department policy that governs our use of it. And we can't use it, there's expectations of privacy, we can't use it over places of expectations of privacy, certain warrants are required. There's things in our policy that strictly forbids us from using it, we can't do like routine patrols, we can't use it for personal use or spy on people or anything like that. The policy basically lays out its use for, like criminal surveillance, if we have a search warrant, or, exigent circumstances, including like a lost child or something like that. Or some of those other things that we talked when you guys had approved the warrant, so.
Chief, could we get a copy of your policy on drones? Do you have it?
It's in front of you too. It was set on the table.
Yeah.
This is the police one?
Looks like this.
What if,
This is the police?
Yep. This is the ordinance.
what if we
This is the police
amended it
policy.
for the training for like the public parks? So it's not, it's kinda cut in stone that you're allowed to fly the drone over the city parks to do the training, so there's no risk of sneaking in someone's back.
In residential
Yard,
areas.
yeah.
Looking in windows. I guess we talked about this with the sheriff's office at the county level, and the concern was citizens were concerned that it's an invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is if you do it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not my intent.
Yeah.
My intent is if we're gonna train with it, or we're gonna do something with it, by our current city ordinances, technically I have to get a permit from you guys. I'm just wondering if there's a way around that.
That's where I was wondering about opening up to either all the parks or a certain park that allows you to do the training in that area only. And then you still are able to do your normal stuff if you were responding to a call.
What about adding to that, public areas, period? So public, owned properties. So that way, if he wants to train
Here,
buildings,
yeah.
you can train with buildings if we use the term public owned or city owned property. Because then you could go to parks, you could go fly over the EMS building, you could fly over this thing, plus the parks, plus,
That would,
Down by the city garage, at the
City
end of Main
garage.
Street, down that.
that would, at least that would give you
Cemetery.
like, areas of like
Cemetery.
buildings and that type of stuff where you
Sure,
probably
yeah.
want
Yeah.
that
well,
drone to be.
yeah, and that would address the issue of having planned training events, but yet we still wouldn't address the issue of having a lost child or a major crime scene where we need some aerial footage, I guess we would need exemptions for that also.
Yeah,
Is
'cause
that
that's
under-
in your scope of like your,
B already? If you look under exceptions,
Yeah, that would
B,
be under- that would
there's
be
immediate danger of death or serious injury. That's
yeah,
on the
Was that in the
ordinance
policy?
B.
yeah.
Yeah, under
1504B.
B.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that-
you're covered
already
there.
covered there.
But absolutely, I think that we should open it up to any city-owned property. And let you do that with your trainings at any, and, when you schedule,
As needed.
As needed or whatever.
Mhm,
With that.
Yeah, because tomorrow the permit you guys approved, James he's gonna do some training down at Sportsman's Park.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's what we do.
There's
So,
some buildings down there and stuff like that too.
yeah, so, yeah, however you wanted to do it, just so we could avoid that little technical issue of getting a permit from the
Yeah.
council,
Basically, every time you want to train, whether you need a permit.
basically.
So you approved one tonight.
Well, I don't know, but technically, if they're flying over city-owned property and they're a city entity, do they need a permit?
It's a good question. That
I
was
think
rolling.
just the ability to fly in airspace nowadays requires a permit, is my assumption.
I should text Thomas, he knows he's a commercial.
I know this was approved,
You
our
should
drone
text him
policy,
quick.
our
See
drone
the
policy
answer.
was approved before the state had theirs.
Right. we
Once
were
the
one of
state
the
had theirs,
first-
then we have to go by the state's.
Mhm.
Yeah, it says no
Just to make
drone-
it fair for everyone,
It says no drone shall be operated within designated flight corridors of a helicopter, air ambulance serving spaces, that's something else.
'Cause-
Well, yeah, that's the so I mean,
Yeah.
obviously then Veterans Park might be off limits because that's
The
near the
Oh,
helipad.
yeah,
Yeah, we wouldn't do that if it was.
Right.
yeah, that would-
Well, we might wanna have that one be excluded.
Yeah.
If he can fly it on our city property, But I'm reading here,
without permit.
it is operated only within the boundaries of an individual's real property and has no surveillance capabilities.
Yeah, but you use a camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, this,
Well,
the permit
yeah,
is
that's
more
the reason
designated
why
to
you have it.
citizens and not law enforcement, so.
But, I mean, to be fair, I mean, we should probably have it written in stone
Right,
that
Law enforcement
that
may.
we're saying that we can use it in our parks for
For
training.
training purposes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
Is this something that you could discuss with,
'Cause, I mean, otherwise I
Attorney
could just show
Arneson?
up
I
at
think
the
we're gonna have to
park and
discuss
run
this
my
with Attorney
drone. I don't
Sure.
have one, but if I
to
did, you
get-
know, like, I'm just buzzing
Just-
around.
just to
and-
get his concern,
filming
the
stuff.
chief's
Well, I
concern?
think even the little
in
toy
writing.
ones now, I mean,
They have cameras.
yeah,
Thomas
but,
bought his like one time
Yeah.
ago, like a cheap little $100 one, and that
It
thing
runs
would
it with his
fly
phone,
whatever,
right?
But it,
Or does he have a
no, it had
controller?
like a stupid, I mean, it was stupid cheap.
yeah,
He has a very nice one now. That one was stupid cheap. It just had the whatever, but he could take pictures. He'd push a button on it and then take a picture. It's not like the one he has now where he can video and in high definition.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a commercial one, so he can be hired by anyone.
Yeah.
One other thing, I guess, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, because I talked to Pat a little bit about this drone stuff that we had gotten, and he had made mention that some of the neighboring law enforcement agencies, McLeod County and some of these other counties, have bigger and better drone systems than our free one. So maybe you might want to consider there also, if we have a situation, well, then maybe that would fall under the exemptions again. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
if you
just-
were needing them to come in and help, right?
Yeah, and we'd
Yeah,
have
Mhm.
to pull.
Yeah, that would fall right
Yeah.
under there.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
I don't know, however you guys wanna do it.
Okay. How about if City Administrator Newsom confers with Attorney Arneson and comes up with something?
I'll find out from him or whatever too.
To what he says.
Yeah, he knows all those laws.
Okay,
And I
All
think
right.
you know the laws though too, like that aren't ours, like the, how high you can fly and.
Right, yeah, that's all in our policy, my policy
It's
states
like
I got it,
400 foot
before-
ceiling?
Yeah, before you hit.
How high is our water tower?
gotta be within line of sight too or something.
Do we know?
The water tower's probably like 75 feet
yeah,
high.
I was gonna say between 75 and 100.
So you can get up there then with that thing.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. But even if you're 400 feet and straight up, right, you can only be, this is my property, I can go 400 feet here, I can't go 400 feet here, even
Right.
though that can see,
Yeah,
you have to be over your property.
yeah.
Okay, anything else on that? Otherwise, we'll have some answers at next council meeting on how to change that if need be. All right, thank you, Chief.
Right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, chief.
Item 21, approve and deny purchase of 10 four-station voting booths in the amount of $7,582 with funds from the CARES Act.
This is something that Vicky had asked for in the capital improvement plan and we took out. And then I spoke with her again because I know that we can use some of our CARES money for elections related things. And I talked to her about, why do you want these four-station polling booths? Well, why should we get them? And she had a very good point. When it's presidential election time, it'll be very busy in here. And there will be lines down the hall here. And she would rather get people through faster by having more polling booths for them to vote in, rather than having so many people in the
In
hallway here close together. She
Hmm.
thought it would be more efficient since we can use our CARES money for
Are they
this.
gonna open up more space, cause you usually only have.
We're gonna use the whole works
Okay.
even this year.
Because township is not involved.
Correct,
They
so we
vote-
don't need their
vote by mail.
section.
Right.
Well, the problem is the ones that are picked out, they violate every social distancing standard that you could have.
Boxed right next to
So like the
somebody.
existing ones are spread out,
One
you know, I
person.
mean, if we
Yeah.
put 6 foot, we could go 7 feet and put a tape X to where people are standing.
But when coronavirus isn't in effect, you could use these in future years. Cause we saved she's gonna save them and store them.
Has there been that long of lines here? Cause I don't remember any
It's
lines.
like-
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I've walked in there, I was the
Yeah.
only one.
She
Right.
said there's been long lines, I can only go with what I've.
And there was donuts and
Did-
cookies and.
Did the nursing home get let out one day for a field trip to vote or something?
Does anybody remember
It's
the
at
last?
certain times it does get busy,
Yeah.
usually it's around lunchtime because the people who work
Yeah.
in
Lunch
town
breaks,
Yeah.
sure.
come.
And then when you get off work.
Get off
And when
work,
people get off work,
5
just
o'clock.
like, okay, think about when the grocery store is busy.
Yeah.
4 o'clock,
Yep.
Four
don't go
o'clock.
then, don't
Yep.
go to the grocery store at 4, cause why? Everybody's there.
That's when it would be busy here.
But that's the only time that it's busy, right? The rest of the day it's kinda like, cool.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that, I'm not here.
But the CARES money would pay for all of it?
For these.
It
Why
would,
don't we,
This is an
can we,
eligible
But that would
expense.
deduct money going to a business, correct?
yeah. maybe.
I thought we had some that we had to spend though too, right?
Well, potentially, I mean, I think
Oh,
if people
right.
You still-
apply, right, so if we have every, I forget the exact number, but Attorney Arneson talked about the number of businesses that applied, and you times that by 5,000, and it's every dollar.
Right.
How many booths do we currently have?
That I do not know. That's.
I think they just set up,
I could see getting a few more of the
pedestals.
ones that we have, if we had to.
Thinking there's gotta be at least 12, be my guess.
Were some of those, the counties, or were they all ours?
I'm assuming those are all ours.
And then, are there gonna be things in place where you, they need to sanitize in between people using them?
They need to sanitize everything, including the pens that you vote with.
Might just give them a free pen when they come in the door to take home with them.
Some places are doing that, actually. They're
You might
gonna buy
as
a whole
well.
bunch of pens
Yeah.
and let you take them home after voting.
Or you just grab them here and then when they leave, they can put them in the dirty bucket,
That's what Vicky's planning to do, have a dirty bucket and then she'll sanitize them.
clean and dirty.
So Councilmember Morgan, you have a concern with the social distancing on the design of the ones that are in consideration?
Yeah, just looking at it, I mean,
Oh, I
it
think-
screams that
I would agree.
they're not necessarily high enough, you're standing right next to it. I personally don't have that concern, but I think it visually merits a problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think so too. I never thought of that when I was looking at it today, but you're right, it's,
I mean, when we come into the room, I mean, they're nicely spread out, and it's,
Right.
you've actually got privacy, you know, like
Yeah.
you're in your own element voting, and it's, yeah.
I even had the luxury of sitting at a table for one vote, cause I had to bring my son, and so he sat down next to me while I was at the table. I mean, it wasn't just at the pedestal, I
Yeah.
sat at one of the foldouts, so.
Well, I mean, when it comes, maybe some money that she wants to spend on, or something she wants to spend money on for voting, would be dots to put on the floor to remind people to stay 6
She's
feet
going to
apart.
use like electrical tape or something to make X's on the floor where people should stand.
Um,
Yeah.
Well, they're not that expensive for a whole bunch. So, I mean, even just a couple, just to say the 6 feet, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a condition issue or, you know,
Well, the tables that we have now are kind of wobbly, but they're plastic.
they still function.
They're plastic, they're gonna last forever.
She saw these in Winthrop, she saw the more expensive ones, the $8,000, but the $7,000 ones are basically the same thing. She saw them in Winthrop, liked them, she liked the way they folded up and stored versus the ones we have.
but for use now with COVID, wouldn't any polling place have a concern with
Yeah, I think this is a violation.
closeness?
I mean, this breaks,
I mean,
Yeah.
You have one person
It's-
at a station at a time if you did this.
but you're
Because
you're
then you
missing the
have
gamut
to-
on that.
And then, yeah, you're,
The idea.
you're using a quarter of your purchase then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True. True.
I'll make a motion to deny purchase the 10-4 station, voting booths.
and you know what the reason is, I mean,
Yes,
so
I
it
will
isn't,
explain to Vicky.
yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Batchor, second by Councilmember Morgan to deny the purchase of 10 four-station voting booths in the amount of $7,582 with funds coming from the CARES Act Any further discussion?
Let's just hope they still let us vote in person.
They would.
Yeah. Okay, the vote then is to deny. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Item 22, approve deny request by William Miller and Sons to reduce retainage to $20,000 for the 2019 street project.
That's the project that we're having issues with, the boulevard grass growing. The retainer is currently sitting at 110,000, so they're asking us to pay them that difference and lower it to 20,000.
What's our policy on it?
Do we have a policy on retaining?
Yeah, I think it was in the contract when we first signed it.
It was, the retainage has, oh gosh, that laws on that have changed, that you have to retain a certain, initially,
Right,
certain higher level,
yep, and then
Correct.
once they get the
But-
project done.
but retaining 100,000 to get the grass growing is maybe a little excessive.
Yeah,
So,
I think
right,
it's a-
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's not, I'm
No.
just saying
It's
that there is a
110,000.
percentage.
Yeah, that's
basically,
why
you know?
that's probably why that 100,000 was still in there.
Was retained at the beginning of the project.
Right.
So what did Jason recommend? He just said,
He didn't recommend anything, he just said,
I would like him to tell us what he thinks.
or should that be coming from Attorney Arneson? A recommendation then if we want to.
Either or, I mean, ask Arneson first, and if he doesn't, I don't know, I think
Well-
Jason typically is the one who,
So 20,000 is still a pretty large amount, and it could lead somebody to come out and take care of the grass. My concern about not paying it would be tarnishing our reputation
Just with William Miller
with
and
them, and then
Sons.
now they don't wanna bid and
Yeah.
come out and do work. So the
And-
20,000 is still a big chunk of change. I mean, I think that they're gonna take care of the grass. If they don't, then you don't pay
Then
them.
you don't pay the 20,000.
Would we keep the 20,000?
Yeah, then,
Fix the
you know,
grass ourselves,
yeah, we get some sod or whatever it,
Yeah,
whatever it takes.
right.
so,
For 20,000, we could probably fix a bit of grass.
well, as a resident on that street, I think they did a fantastic job, except for the grass. I mean,
Probably has something to do
everything
with the
else is
soil,
done.
the soil that they put down, whether it's just clay or,
No, the soil looked pretty good. I think
Huh.
it was just a lousy job of hydro seeding, maybe.
oh, when they sprayed it
The
out.
quality of the hydro seed.
Quality of the hydro
that's
seed.
always
think-
a problem.
I think
So,
that's the issue.
I'm hoping they really get aggressive come August or September now and do some slit seeding or something, because that's when it'll grow, when you get into the
Yeah.
cooler
Now
fall
it's getting
months.
cooler. It was burning out too in the summer.
Yeah.
So,
So this is a table?
Do we have a motion by
yeah.
someone
Is
to
there
approve,
is there a
deny, or
motion to
table?
approve it?
Motion to table the, retainage of 20,000 for the 2019 street improvement project by W.M. Mueller and Sons.
And we are waiting for what are we,
On conditions of Jason.
Jason recommendation?
Yeah, Jason's recommendation.
Okay,
He is on vacation right now. I can't remember how long he's going to be gone for, but he is on vacation for an extended period.
So I heard
Can
a,
we do it either Jason and or Ross to see who we get the first answer from, and if their
Attorney
number
Arneson.
comes down to about that 20, if that's where it should be, we can just go ahead and pay it.
Sure.
How about
Yeah, I'll include City Attorney Arneson in that.
motion maybe to do that instead
I was
of
gonna say, instead of table it, just motion to check with Ross or,
Jason?
Okay.
and if it's okay, legally, there's no reason not to do it, then
Right.
let's,
Then we don't have to wait for 2 weeks.
So a motion to consult Jason Femerite or City
okay.
Attorney Arneson on whether or not to act on this.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Omerion, second by Councilmember Batchor are we approving then pending consultation with either Jason Femright or Ross Arneson?
Yeah.
yes,
Okay,
approving the 80,000 to pay,
right,
correct?
correct.
leaving the retainage of
At
20,000. Okay, further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Item 23, information on payments to the AGI Sewer Fund, number 603.
That was the last item in your packet, information from Lisa on how the money is split when it goes into the AGI sewer fund. It's basically evenly split right now, and it's a fair split.
Mm-hmm.
Arlington and Green Isle are transferring the same amount into AGI. And it's based on usage, not necessarily just on the amount of water coming over from Green Isle, because both Green Isle and Arlington have I&I.
I just made a note on here as I was reading it today. I said, City of Arlington is billing Green Isle only for gallons used through their water meters. Should not they be paying based on recently installed sewer meter gallons? You know, that come running through the new meter that was put on the sewage line.
Yeah, but that would include I&I, and we're not paying for our I&I.
No, but shouldn't Green Isle be paying for treating I mean, we're all paying for I&I. It all has to go through the treatment process.
Right, so it's everybody's paying for it right now. We're not putting in extra for that I&I, so you'd be asking Green Isle to put in extra for that I&I.
I would like to see what the apples to apples are, because I wanna see how much they're sending over versus how much they're billing. You know, how much I&I do they have?
Well, then
There's
we
gotta
need
be
to
an
look at how much I&I Arlington has too.
Well, because they have a meter, and they know
Yeah.
how many gallons they pump, so
Yeah.
that's easy to figure out.
You
Mhm.
take
Hard.
you take your meter reading and you subtract off what they
Yep.
pumped, then you
Right.
know how much I&I Green Isle
Right.
is.
Then if you
sending
take our
over.
And
meter,
then you take our
you
meters
take the
and
difference of
subtract
the number.
the
and
Yeah,
you get the
no, I
number.
think
formula, and
it's-
then you got what we
And
would
then-
have for I&I.
'Cause I
So
don't
how
think-
would you change the billing? If you're going
Well-
to include their I&I but not our I&I?
I think we just wanna look at the numbers to see what it, if it looks like it's, you know, somewhere within, 50-50 split, then it's not even worth even evaluating. If it was 75-25,
I think
then,
I had figured that one day. 80-20? I think it was 80-20.
I mean, they have less people, right, so I would think they would have less.
But being Arlington owns the plant, they are paying for their I&I through everybody, through the taxes, whatever. But shouldn't Green Isle be paying for every gallon of waste they send over to be treated, no matter if it's pumped or if it's
I&I,
I&I? I think so.
I think so too.
So, to clarify something for me, Arlington and Green Isle do not own it jointly. Arlington owns it,
Right,
and Green Isle contracts
Our
to
plant?
use it.
Our plant, Arlington owns the plant.
Wastewater treatment plant is solely owned by Arlington, and we have,
and the sewer fund is what's building up, now everything that comes back in now, like when we have a whack and sack or whatever, that goes
Mhm.
into the AGI sewer fund. Right, so everybody now, from now on, is paying into the sewer fund to help build that, but we pay for the treatment plant and all the operational costs up there.
I thought that, looking at the budget today, that comes, the budgeting for the treatment plant comes out of the AGI fund. I think there's been some confusion about this. Lee and I went over this today and talked about this. Yeah, maintenance for the wastewater treatment plant is coming out of the AGI fund. Maintenance for the
Okay.
lift stations in Arlington are coming out of the Arlington sewer fund.
Which makes sense. Their
Mhm.
lift station. For Arlington Water, cause I thought there was one lift station for the Green Isle.
Correct.
Yeah, so that,
That's coming out of the AGI.
So it's not apples to apples.
Stuff that is
Well, regardless of
specifically
all
city.
that stuff, it still would be nice to know what the I&I is that they're sending over,
Right.
period.
And that'd be easy to figure out.
Right, it'd be easy to figure out if we have every 2 months, we just
Right,
grab 2 months.
because we know what our readings were off the new
2
meter.
months ago, and
Yep.
what they will be in 2 months from now.
it could be worse for us if, like we're
It might
splitting it
be.
50-50 and we've got 3/4 of the I&I going through it.
It
Now all
could
of a sudden, our chemical usage is different because of all that extra water and,
But I think one of the main things that, like even Jason was talking about when we were talking about Green Isle and the I&I or that Lee talks about when we talked about I&I, said Arlington's been really trying to be proactive about getting rid of
Yeah,
it.
And so has
And-
Green Isle right now.
Mhm.
They have also decreased their I&I.
Right.
Both cities
but I
are
mean,
kind of
but
the same.
But we don't really know until we see the numbers, we kinda, it would be the pieces to the puzzle, right,
having these.
that we need.
How are we gonna
Before-
find out Arlington's I&I?
That's
we
just
use
doing
that
the math.
formula.
The water that we pump out,
Right,
so we know what they've pumped at their wells and then what they've sent to us.
So that's a number,
Those are those two numbers, then we've got what we've pumped,
and then we subtract their numbers.
yeah, and then we just assume, okay, they sent us this much water, we pumped this much water, the difference is our I&I. And hopefully it's low.
And it
Yeah.
could come back
I-
too, that ours is the high one.
Well, it could be, but that's good information to have regardless, I think.
I would like to see the number of gallons that they're billed each, every month, cause then we can,
And
we've got all the other facts and figures off of people service reports.
But,
They
right,
got the Green Isle numbers
Yeah,
in
you
there.
can see the
but
difference.
they were
in it,
also
too.
talking how, are they billed at the same amount,
Yes.
or I mean, are they billed for city offices, are we billed for city offices, are they billed at their ballparks? Or do we bill at
Oh,
ballparks? Well, I'm just, it's a
yeah,
question.
I'm saying there
So-
are some,
Because
might-
I've heard rumors that that's probably not, 'cause do we bill our parks?
Yes.
Okay, so that might not be the same, is all that I'm saying. So make sure the bills.
Oh, there's a water meter at
for
each park for like a spigot or
There's
something?
a water at the Sportsman's Park, correct?
There's water at the Sportsman's Park. There's water at the
At the
Lions
Four
Center.
Seasons.
Yep.
There's water at,
There's not water at Frenzel.
No.
no, I don't think so.
I was just wondering if Hospital Park.
I don't think there's
Very
water
low,
there
there's no
either.
water there either.
It's just the Four Seasons and Sportsman, yeah.
Well, there's Memorial, there's
Yeah,
a,
Memorial Park, cause that's.
there's a-
Oh,
there's a
Memorial,
hydrant
yeah,
there.
yeah,
All the flowers.
they have
there's a
one.
hydrant there.
I don't know, just more information. to go
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. Interesting.
Would you like Lisa to come talk about this? Cause I kinda feel like it's playing telephone here, where she gives the information to us. She's the one who's dealing with it directly.
But if she has the numbers, she can just forward the numbers
Yeah, that's all we
first,
need,
and then maybe come
the
to
gallons.
a meeting and talk.
But did you say you and Lee had a conversation about this?
Mhm.
May
We
be
went over the
interesting. in-
budgets today.
Hmm.
More information.
Yeah, more information. I'd like to know, I guess I had thought the ownership of the plant was Arlington 100%, and we
I
were
thought
just,
it was Arlington Green Isle is what,
yeah,
Well,
because of the fact that it was built at the time when Green Isle hooked on, and that was taken into consideration, the size of the plant, is that why they probably,
we have a joint powers agreement, which makes me think that it's owned by both. I could be
Okay.
wrong, but when you have a
Yeah,
joint powers
and I'm
agreement in
not s-
effect, just like when we were looking at the ambulance, joint powers agreement would have made it Arlington Gaylord. Joint powers agreement for this, to me, makes it Arlington
Okay.
Green Isles.
It would be nice to get that information squared away, so
Yeah.
we know.
so we all know what, sure. I've got some doubt now too, so,
I'm just, thinking
Yeah,
out loud here, when
yeah.
you're talking about it.
I thought the same maybe.
Yeah, I think everybody's not on the same sheet of music here with that
No.
wastewater treatment plant.
okay, that will be looked into further. Miscellaneous business, committee updates, anything that hasn't been talked about or reported on?
I wanna bring up, while the governor continues his emergency, what does he call it, emergency
Mandate?
mandates?
Campaign?
Orders,
Campaign
2081.
orders. While he,
2084,
well, it's an emergency, right, we're in a state of emergency, the state of Minnesota. I would like the council, on every meeting that we have it online, available online. Continue with the Zoom, if you don't wanna use Zoom, you could use Google Meets, that's free, or some kind of online, meeting. there's probably a lot of people that don't wanna come into the building because they're freaked out. I don't know, maybe there's not, but to
I-
give them
I
that
agree.
opportunity
Give the option.
while we're underneath this emergency, and once the emergency is over, then I would say we could probably bring it back up for discussion. I know it's another step for you guys, but
So just make it available if they wanna,
yep, just like we did
just like
before.
we did before.
They can click on, or look at our agenda, click on the line and join the meeting.
Okay, input from the rest of the council?
I agree with that. I think if we give people opportunities to participate, it's important.
Makes sense?
I don't see any harm in it, no.
I would
Joe?
probably personally do that over wearing the mask, so I could sit in my bedroom and you guys could see me smiling if I'm smiling, or, you know, there's no personalness with it on. It's hard to, you know, kind of see what people are thinking and expressing.
Well, I wasn't saying that we shouldn't be here in person, but I guess that would open it up to that, wouldn't it? I mean, if you can make it here, it's good to have that discussion.
Well, I mean-
think it works better when we all sit at.
I think so too.
Under the mandate, you can take the mask off to discuss when you're speaking in public. I guess I've just kind of chosen not to out of respect and stuff, so.
Okay.
But it's just 16 pages in the one and 15 in the other. I've had to read through all of it, and we were fine tooth combing, trying to figure out how we're gonna operate our business, and, yeah.
Well, right, it's tough, and
Yeah.
and it's nothing like we've ever had to deal before, our generation anyhow, so.
Is a consensus then to go ahead with going back to online meetings for the general public to tap in?
I guess the public part is one that, you know, there could be people, you know, not wanting to come forward.
Right,
So
yeah.
that would,
And I think that was.
it definitely would aid in that
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
I personally feel I like this better when we're all in the same room and we can
Yep.
exchange ideas and, but I see your point in having an option for the public if they do wanna see what's
And
going on.
Once that executive emergency thing is over, then we can revisit it, and maybe we'll have a lot of people that are attending, and they won't want it to stop. You know,
Mhm.
I would say not end it when he ends it, maybe revisit it at that time.
Okay,
You're good with that, Amy?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's work, I know. And it's not the greatest, and your technology is getting better.
motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Omerion, second by Councilmember Gilman to adjourn the meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Meeting adjourned at 8:55.
But the hard thing is that maybe we got them muffled too, and they would not be able to understand what we're
They
saying.
may not hear us. That was one of our big issues with that. They can't hear us.
At home, or?
No, with.
On
with
Zoom.
our page.
But what if we try something like Google Meets, you know? Ring Central might have complicated stuff that, you know.
Google Meets
The
is free.
infrastructure might be a little too fast,
I mean,
by
it's just-
comparison to a straight up little extension or, yeah.
Is it the speaking into this mic that was difficult?
I think
or is
it's
it
wearing the mask now that's gonna be difficult, but.
It's just the computer picking up everybody speaking, yeah.
Yeah, when we
That
did Ring
doesn't-
Central, we were all online, there was no problem, but.
But
like,
when we're all in here, they're not gonna
Yeah, when
probably hear, they'll hear Rich and I, but they won't hear you
Here's
guys.
a question, can you plug your computer into that sound system?
I
and get
can.
Audio from.
You guys will be able to hear, but
No, that's not what I mean, use your microphone jack
we did try that.
to plug in from that.
Yep, we did that when we did the Zoom meetings. We
Felt
did
like I
do
was
that.
hearing myself when I was talking into the mic. So I mean,
At home.
Yeah,
here.
we did that.
But if we're gonna use it as a way for the public to come to at least voice their opinions if they want to, probably not, gives another option
This was
This
a
was
full
a
meeting.
full
When you get the-
agenda.
20 items.
Yeah, and you get the 3 pieces of paper. it's
There was a
enough.
big agenda.
Have a good week.
All right.
Don't put your microphone, yeah, leave that one tipped over. The batteries that didn't work.
Oh, I plugged it in there.
No, cause I don't think that one works,
Oh,
remember? You need to
that's right, I
separate those.
switched. I
Yeah,
switched.
the one that didn't work, leave that one
This one.
separated.
I know.
Cause we think that it's not, that little packet isn't working again.
Do you want these?
Yes. All except that one.
I'll accept the one that.
Well, now it works.
No, it
Well,
works.
you said
I
it
don't think it was charged. Okay.
Now it works.